Hi there. In this video I'm going to talk about how to use the jQuery.get function, which is used to load an AJAX request from the web browser to the backend server. So for example, if you have your web browser and this is loading some kind of page which has some content, and you want to call your backend server, which could be either a PHP or JSP or even a HTML file stored in a backend server. And let us say this is a backend server and you want to make a call to the backend server like this and get some data back from the backend server like this without doing any reload of the page. That can be achieved using the the jQuery.get function. So you can essentially load the browser, get a page, and then some kind of event can happen which can call the backend server, which could be a PHP or Java server, and it can supply you with the information you need without making any changes to the or without reloading the page. So how you're going to do that, I'm going to explain it to you. So let us say we have a file called as AJAX GET.html, which we are going to use for our making our AJAX request. And to do that we need to use the jQuery library. And now to find the jQuery library, all you need to do is go to the jQuery CDN in Google and query this keyword. The first link that you get is Google hosted libraries. Go to the Google hosted libraries after clicking on that and go to the jQuery. You will be taken to this section where you can just pick it up, this part of the document, and take it and copy it into your document. So you just need to be connected to the internet to run this program, and the jQuery is now included in your file. So if I want to call up a PHP function, let us create a new PHP file. So for example, I have this PHP file and I'm going to save this PHP file, get.php, and inside that PHP file all I'm going to do is return a message, or rather echo a message. Okay, and I'm going to exit this script after that. It is very important to do this exit the script because or you can also use die because there could be possibilities that there are further things running in the script below this, and if you do not do an exit, all those would be run, and if there's any output, it's going to be echoed with this message. So we don't want that. That's why when we want our AJAX call to finish and when we have done all the written messages, we just need to call the exit 0 to shut that script down. Now from here we are going to make a call to get.php. So to do that we are going to write a JavaScript block. Inside that I'm going to write a function called as $. You can also use jQuery, essentially the same, which takes an argument called as document, and it uses a function called as ready. So basically when the document is loaded completely, it is going to do a AJAX call, and inside that I'm going to call a function which has a body, and I'm going to put a semicolon. So this is the basic structure of the jQuery onload, document onload code. So here I'm going to write the get function when the document has been loaded. So let us give an alert before it, alert about to load from PHP. Sorry. And inside that, let us say dollar dot, we're going to use jQuery dot get, because dollar dot get means something else. We are going to use jQuery dot get function. So what we are going to do is dollar dot get, and inside that, if you just check out the parameters of the get, the first parameter is URL, second is the data, third is the success, and fourth is the data type. So the first one is the URL that you're going to call. So for example, if you want to call a URL in your own server, and you want to give a path like http:// your site name dot dot blah blah blah, and the kind of data that you're going to pass to that script, and what happens on the success, there's a function called, and there's a data return, we can give the data type. Everything is neatly documented over here. You can check out these individual stuff. It also tells that this whole jQuery.get function is a shorthand for $.ajax, which has a few quirks of its own. So let us see first, without passing any data, whether we can get any data from our PHP script. To do that, since we are invoking the file which is in the same directory as the current HTML file, we are not going to fall into any problem related to the path. We can just call get.php, and upon the return of the data, we can call a function which has a variable called as response. This response would be the data we have received from the PHP file, and is going to be loaded in this function, and we can do an alert of this response that we get. So make sure that it is a text, just a line or a string rather than an object, because otherwise the alert will not show the right string. And that's it, and let us now run and find out whether this thing works. So what is going to happen is, first we are going to see an about to load from PHP, and then we are going to call the get.php function using the get function, and inside the get.php file we have echoed this is a return message from PHP, and we have exited that script, and we are going to alert that string right here. Let us see if we are able to do that. So if I run this file here, the first alert pops up which says about to load from PHP. Now when I press OK, the call will be made to get.php, which lies in the same directory as the AJAX get.html. And you can see after a slight delay, we have the response from the PHP script, which is this is a return message from PHP. So this was a very basic way of getting the information from your server using the get. Now what if we want to pass a data? So this would use the $_get of PHP, and we're going to pass a data, for example, like this. So now let us see how we can pass the data to this PHP script, because that should be the purpose. It should not be just getting an string echo, but we should be able to pass the variables from the front end to the back end script so that we can modify them. So to pass that, all we need to do is add a JavaScript object. So for example, I'm going to give a variable name as name, just like the example here. Sorry, this would have no quote here, and I'm going to give a name called as John, and then a comma, and another variable called as time, which will have another string called as 2 p.m. and it's important to give a comma after that, otherwise this function will give you an error. So if I just format it a little bit, you can see how it looks like. So the get.php function gets called with these two parameters, and what we are going to do is modify our script a little bit to add another set of parameter, to add another set of message. So if you know a little bit of PHP, you must be aware of the variable called as $_get, which specifies the get parameters, which is same as what we are going to get here. So these are the get parameters. So what we are going to do is we are going to do echo I got name, and I'm going to do add the variable name, which would come out as John, and then I would echo another statement I got time dot, and I'm going to get the time. So I hope I'm making sense here, that the variable that you have over here will get echoed back to me and I will get a response. So let us run this script and check out our output. So the first thing is about to load from PHP, the alert that we got from our function here, and then we are going to get all these strings. So let's see if we can make it work successfully. So if I press OK, it will be a delay, and then I get this message. This is a return message from PHP. Of course it's all jumbled up, but we got the point. And the message says I got name John, I got time 2 p.m., which is exactly the value of the parameters that we had sent from this function, and which gets stored in the $_get name variable and $get time variable. You need to do a lot of validations. This is a very basic example. It's not at all secure if you're going to use it. Always make sure that you are getting the right values. So make sure that these values are validated and these values are indeed what you are expecting. And there could be an error if somebody doesn't send all the values, so you should have a check to make sure that the values are indeed present. So for example, if you want to check whether the name parameter has been received or not, you need to use something like this: is set $_get and name. If it is set, get me the name, or I will use my default name. For example, I'll use Bob, and if I don't get the time from the front end, then I'm going to use my own time, like this, 10 a.m. So that way what you have done is you have reduced the probability of error happening. It is still not 100% secure. You need to sanitize the input, but at least one thing is sure, that it will not give an error if you don't get the keys as name and time. So if we remove this whole variable set, just cut it off and run the file again, you're going to see a different output this time. So this is about to load from PHP, and I press OK, and we see an error because we made a small mistake here. We should have used the $_name rather than $_get. just an oversight. Now we will not receive any error. Let's just run it. So now we can see that we did not pass the name as John in time as 2 p.m. so we got name as Bob and the time as 10 a.m. That is what we intend to do. So let me rephrase it again to you. It is not a secure solution, but at least it is without any errors. So make sure that you catch as many errors as possible and make the solution secure. So moving on to the other part, there's a very interesting idea about it, that not only you can get some kind of response, you can do further processing. So this whole function, this one, returns a value, and we can store this value, and the object is called as jQuery object. And if you go to the documentation down here, you will find that there is information about the deferred object, which is the jQuery object. And since it is a jQuery object, it has certain callbacks that you can utilize. So for example, you can add the callbacks to the jQuery object like this, and you can utilize the certain callbacks that are provided by this kind of object. So if you go to the documentation, you can see there are 3 or 4 kinds of callbacks that it provides. So you can, the callbacks, you can customize it just like the same way you do it for others, like this. And inside that you can say an alert, it says already done. You can also add a fail, or you can add an always. You can do a chaining kind of thing, dot, because every function returns back the same object, and you can add more information or add functions, more callbacks to the same object. And I'll show it one more callback to you. So let us see dot always, and I will take dot always here, and we're going to utilize this function and create a function inside. Just close it, and alert, I am always called. Let us see how this whole thing behaves. Okay, so I'm going to run this file once again. So the first thing I see is about to load from PHP, which is going to the PHP file next. If I press OK here, after a delay I get a message, which is a standard message that we just saw. It's a return message, and I got name as Bob because we did not pass any parameters in this file. Here we removed all the parameters, and this is the response from the PHP file. So if I press OK, I should get another message which says already done, so which is come from the done part of it after the response has been received, and there's something executed always is irrespective of the failure or success, which will say I am always called. So let us see. If I press OK, then it says I am always called. So basically you can use this kind of chaining effect to build a lot of good quality functionality in your document, and you can utilize get to talk to the server without loading the page. We have not loaded the page at all in our example. We have just loaded it once per instance when you wanted to see the effect of the get function, and from there it was the dynamic call to the backend, and the done function was called and the always function was called. So there was quite a bit of comprehensive tutorial on the get function of jQuery, very handy for AJAX request, and it sends the parameter as get parameters, don't forget that. So I hope you like it. Thanks for watching.